Yeah, I think we'd be lucky to get away with a narrow deal. I think it would be great for U.S. businesses and U.S. consumers. How narrow is really the question. I think that we'll certainly see purchases of U.S. agricultural products. We have to see something on intellectual property commitments, I think, for this to be a deal that the president can at least hold his head up above. And lastly, the big question is on whether tariffs will be rolled back and how far.
What do you think there?
I think that the U.S. will find it hard to roll them back completely. The president is going to get much less out of this than was advertised originally, and so he's going to have to say that he's going to keep some powder dry in case commitments are not made or in case we don't move forward.
So then tariffs stay in place at some level. There will be some incremental progress made. How important is it for the presidents, respectively, of China and the U.S. to get a deal done here?
Well, I think it's very important for President Trump. I think that he's got us into a situation now where the latest round has been on household items, clothing, footwear, things that everyday people will see and begin to realize that this tariff war is going to have a cost for American consumers. The next round, I think, is particularly dangerous for him politically. It will be the majority of the new tariffs would fall on U.S. computer and electronic device industries. More than half will be on cell phones and laptops. Those are devices that are iconically American. They're designed, marketed here in the United States. Sure, they are assembled in China, but they have a large component of parts that are made by U.S. allies. It would certainly give an advantage in the U.S. market to companies like Samsung that don't assemble phones for the U.S. market in China. So I think that wiser heads would say better if we don't go that direction. So I think that some kind of interim deal or mini deal, whatever they want to call it, with sort of a plan to continue talking would be really the best outcome that we can get here.
Mary, how much does Hong Kong complicate the situation? Not just the fact that the protesters took aim at some of the Chinese cops over the weekend, but the fact that you have this NBA maelstrom now because a general manager simply tweeted in support of the pro-democracy protesters. China's response was to basically try to shut down a lot of the business, the rockets at least were doing in that country. And what message does that send to the rest of the business community that's relying on China for their growth?
Well, it's a strong message. We've seen this message being sent before. We saw recently the reaction of the Chinese government to Cathay Pacific that led to their CEO having to step down. We've seen it before with Marriott and their treatment of Taiwan and Tibet on their website.
Right.
So these political issues are one that can be a minefield for American corporations. Having said that, American corporations operating in China have over $300 billion worth of sales each year, so companies are finding a way to do it. A very large multinational said to me recently, they're one-third the consumers in the world, they're where the growth is, there's no way we're not going to be there.
Right, but, there's something to be said for also calling a spade and having the freedom of speech to say, look, the Hong Kong protesters in some cases are singing the U.S. national anthem and, unfurling the American flag. So, there's been a backlash against the NBA, too, saying, well, wait a minute, how can you just simply apologize, back down, and tacitly give the Chinese the upper hand? And does that reflect the upper hand that they might have in trade talks, too?
Well, you're pointing out something that's very important, which is that the Chinese have a lot to lose here, too. If they were to shed blood in Hong Kong in a way that was clearly linked to them, I think it would be a complete game changer. American corporations would find themselves facing a much stronger backlash. So we're really on a tightrope here. I think easing tensions overall with the trade war would help. The future of Hong Kong is something that I think should concern everyone. It doesn't look like there's an easy resolution here. I think if the Chinese don't escalate, we will continue to see, I hate to say it perhaps, but in some sense, business as usual.